Hi, this is Amanda,
And this is Jen.
and you're listening to Just This, a podcast that explores everything around being and becoming a mother or parent.
We're excited to have you join us as we dive into the practical details as well as the unseen energetics on topics that span from preconception to years after birth.
Hello. This is Amanda with a quick announcement before we jump into our pod episode today. If you're expecting a little one or you know someone that's expecting a little one, I have created a lovely container. It's a closed container, very intimate group that travels from the third trimester, so those final stages in your pregnancy, into the fourth trimester, which is those first days and months postpartum. And I won't get too much into it now, but it is crafted with a lot of intention, a lot of love out of my own experience, and also seeing a lot of experiences with the clients I work with. That journey from birth into postpartum and a deep, intimate connection with other women is a very magical space to be in. So if you're interested or you know someone that might be interested, you can check out more details at www.postpartum.love/together. That's www.postpartum.love/together, TOGETHER. We've got a really fun topic today that we're diving into. I don't really remember where this stemmed from, but it
I
was a
don't
fun question. Do you remember where it came up from, or the question?
I don't remember. It was some from another podcast that we did. I think it stemmed from that.
Yeah, we were like, let's actually ask parents. And everyone I asked this question to thought it was such a fun question.
I still think it's a fun question
Yeah,
topic.
what we wanted to talk about was things we or people said they would never do as a parent that they ended up doing.
Yes.
And I think anyone who's a parent out there listening understands that there's just no way to really know until you're in it. I heard somebody recently, I'm in this training, and the person commented, you'll have people who are going into pregnancy or going into birth or going into parenthood very clearly state, like, this is how it's going to be. This is the way I'm going to do things. And anyone who has, I think, crossed that threshold and been there oftentimes is just very silently supportive in a way that's also, I don't know, it's almost like, I don't like to liken it to a child telling you what they're going to be when they grow up, but it's almost like that where you're like, okay, that's awesome. I'll support you no matter what you want to do, because it may change when we get to the actual time and place of being there. You
I
can say on
totally
that.
agree on that. I think it's interesting because this one too reminded me because I got this a lot when my son was changing his name. It's not legally changed, but it's a fun one. And even myself for babysitting, working with kids for so long and being in the birth world, I thought, oh yeah, there's definitely things I would never do. And then of course, as a parent, it's just like you said, it's like, sure, Jen, okay.
Yeah. And we have another episode about mom shaming and mom guilting that will have been released by the time this one is. We can link to that because there is another element of sometimes when we're not aware that we actually changed the way we did things or changed the way we approach things, it's very easy to point the finger at other people instead of just come from this compassionate place of, hey, we all have these expectations or ideas of how things are going to be doing. We don't really know until we're in the situation. I think that one focuses more. It's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes because every child's different, every family situation is different, and every person's different. So those dynamics, I have no real hard judgments around people no matter what they choose. Would it be something different of what I would choose? Sometimes, yeah, it would be. And that's okay because I'm not them and they're not me, and I can't fully understand the situation, even as close as I might be to it. So
Right,
important to
right.
interject that here.
I'm with you on that too. Part of, I think, our birth training too is support families as they need it. And we don't know what they're going through.
We don't know. We really don't. And even oftentimes the people who want things to be different when we are in the situation and we're there in the moment, it's not different. It is what it is, and we do the best we can to go through it.
I think that's a perfect lead into one of the first ones that I found for myself and for other people was that parents said they'd never do that they did, and that was screens at the dinner table.
I had screen time in general. That was something that came up a lot. I would,
Oh,
as the screen time in general, people would say they weren't going to allow their kids to have screen time before a
hmm.
certain age.
Do you know what age that was?
Statistically, they say four,
Wow.
depending on what other methods you follow. Waldorf is very anti-screen in general, but
Mhm.
I think just like no screens for the first 2 to 3 years.
Were you particularly one of those people that said no screens?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was.
It-
And I think we found a balance. I definitely leaned into screens when my child started waking up incredibly early. I don't even know what age it was at. I'd say it was after two. Probably we were pretty good at avoiding screens in general until maybe after two. And then we started using them primarily to get more sleep in the mornings.
Mhm.
And my child was one of these children that when you could tell it was just she was locked into a screen. If a TV was on in
Mm.
the background, she would be. And my sister said it was a blessing, and I guess I understood after a while why it was a blessing. I always thought it may not be a blessing because I'm like, wow, she's just so drawn to it. It's going to be hard to balance this. She's going to be so obsessed with it. And that wasn't the case. I think with a lot of these things, as we'll talk about, moderation's the key, and sometimes completely restricting things is not the answer to getting good
Yeah.
balance. My sister was just saying it's a blessing because if she's homesick from school or whatever it is, you need that time. You can just put her in front of a screen and just know she's fine. She won't be crying. She won't be bothering you for whatever reason. And for that reason, she thought it was a blessing. And it did come in handy from time to time. How about you? Did
Mhm.
you have a no screen policy?
Yeah, I think I said you definitely don't want to have screens, especially by a certain age. And the big one too is at the dinner table, especially when we were out. I remember the first time I did it, I was out to dinner with my parents and we just wanted to finish up dinner and relax. And my son was young. And so I was like, here you go, just on the iPhone. And it wasn't necessarily through the whole dinner, but still it was towards the end. And he had a screen at the dinner table when we were out. When I transitioned to being a single mom, sometimes I would allow him to have the screens at the dinner table just because I wanted a break. But generally, I try not to do any screens at the dinner table, and we're pretty good about that now. Like you said, it's all moderation, and sometimes you just need it, like prioritizing sleep or mental health in my case. It can be a nice tool to use.
Yeah, I remember you at one point mentioning allowing your kid to watch something on the iPad while you took a bath because you'd had a really hard day. The fact
Mhm.
is, like, we live in a world of screens. And
Mhm.
so being able to let them know these exist, I'm not restricting you from them. We balance them like everything else in our life, like foods we eat, other things we do, everything's a balance. So
Mhm. Yeah, and he has a really good relationship, I have to say, with screens.
I'd say my
Balance is
daughter
key.
does too. We never now have an issue or a fight when we're like, okay, set the timer for 5 minutes. And it was so crazy, even growing up, when we would be like, okay, yes, you can go on your iPad. She would always ask how many minutes you would set a timer. We didn't even have to prompt her with that. She would
Yeah.
automatically have that built into her. Okay, I'm going on this, and I know there's going to be a limitation.
Yeah, I love that. We do timers too, and son's the same. He'll, how long do I get? And then sets a timer on Alexa, and then when it goes off, he turns it off. And I think a few times in the beginning, he would cry or get upset. And I was like, look, if we're doing this, then you're not mature enough to be on screens. Over time, he realized, I'm like, hey, if you want to finish up something, just ask. And then usually, unless we have to go somewhere, I don't mind taking an extra minute or two to finish up whatever you're doing or finish watching and then get off.
And
Great
just one thing
relationship.
to interject here, I think it's so important, especially your kids, even from the ages of 1 and 2, are very aware of what you're doing. If you're constantly on a screen, that's going to be something that they're going to internalize. I really believe it. And if you're more present with them and you're on your screen, maybe when there was somebody else, or you're very like focused and then off as you need to be, whatever, for communicating on phones. But if you're like taking them to the playground and sitting there on your screen, they will want to model your behavior. That's what they're seeing all the time. I do think there is an element of, in everything we do, being conscious of how we are modeling what we want our children to be doing.
I think that's a great point because I feel like I try to be present. And there was even a time where I felt I was on screens more. And so I
Mm.
literally would set a timer to be present with my son. 15 minutes, which is crazy at that time to think about now, just to be off the screens for 15 minutes and like solely focused on him and playing with him. I agree. I think part of that healthy relationship is that I do model a generally pretty healthy relationship with screens.
Yeah.
And I also follow the rules like no screens at the dinner table. So I'm modeling what I want him to do.
Yeah.
So I love that.
We should do a whole episodes on screens because I have some interesting questions and thoughts just as kids get older too, and the evolution of where our technology is going and how much
Mm,
education is wrapped into screens. That would be a fun one to explore. We'll dive deeper on the screen stuff,
yeah, I
but
love that. I
I
just
don't
read a
think there's one parent I know, to be honest, who avoided screens completely for
oh,
3 or 4 years. I don't,
if
do you
you
know anyone?
I don't, but if you do, please contact us because I want to interview
Jen wants to know
you.
all. She's like, what are the tricks? Tell us.
I just read a book too. It's called The Anxious Generation about the generation that had access to screens like in high school and things like that.
Mm.
And so I'd love to do a whole episode on screens too. Future
Future episode
podcast.
alert. You want me to do another one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Another really big one that came up when I
Mhm.
was talking to people was bed sharing or
Ah, that was my
co-sleeping.
second one too.
I really feel that was actually my number one answer when I would ask people. That is something that I feel like I have to respond to for every single client I work with is it normal? Or how many people that you've worked with do this? And I'm like, pretty much everyone
Mhm.
shares a bed with their baby or child at some point, especially within the first year. We're not talking like they're older and they come into your bed in the morning. We're talking baby is non-mobile. You need to pull them into your bed. You breastfeed them, or they are calmer, or they'll sleep longer because they're there,
Mhm.
because they're co-regulating with you. And this is something I don't think, again, right up there with screens. I don't know one family that hasn't done this at least once within the first year of
Yeah,
the baby's life.
I agree. And I think it's also just not talked about so much because of the controversy around co-sleeping. And it's funny you say that too, because even with clients, I always like, oh no, we're not going to co-sleep. I'm like, okay, just as a reminder, it is more dangerous to fall asleep on the couch with your child than it is to lay in bed with your child. So just keep that in mind and practice safe co-sleeping. But I think that's the thing is we're parents are tired, especially in that first few weeks postpartum, and it's natural and it feels so great to be able to just roll over, pop out your boob, and everyone gets a little more rest. Maybe you're not getting that deep sleep that you would be getting if they're not breastfeeding, but just to have that little extra rest and to lay the body down just feels so good. I think co-sleeping was a common one too.
We had an episode on co-sleeping. I wouldn't mind doing another
Mhm.
one because, or just in general, co-regulation, because there is a lot I have to say about co-sleeping. I take it back. I do know there's two people I can think of who they said there's one that I can think of. I know their child's 6 years old, and I didn't know them when they had her as a baby, but they did say to me recently she has never slept in their bed ever.
Oh,
But they had night support. I can say it's just very rare. My personal opinion, again, no judgment to anybody. We get it. There's different situations. And if your anxiety is going to go through the roof by having your baby in the bed with you, don't do it. Don't do it. That's
mhm.
not going to help anybody. But if you're choosing not to do it because you think society is saying it's wrong, but intuitively you feel like it's going to be fine and it's going to get everybody more rest, then give it a go, is what I always
Yeah.
say. We'll link to our co-sleeping podcast episode we already have. There's many ways to co-sleep. As we both just mentioned, it's better to educate yourself on proper, safe co-sleeping techniques than it is to just say, no, I'm not going to do this, and then end up having your baby in a wrap on your body, falling asleep on the sofa with the baby half falling out, which my partner definitely did at one point, even though we were co-sleeping. I think these things happen.
Right.
But they're less likely to happen if you feel more comfortable just letting your baby in the bed with you in a safe way.
Yeah, exactly.
So bed sharing for sure. I
Hmm.
also really encourage people, as we did in our other episode, to do some research and educate yourself about different cultures because this is happening all over the world very
Yes.
safely. And
And I believe pediatricians are not allowed to approve co-sleeping. So if you ask them, they're going to say no. So again, just do your research. There's safe ways and there's times where it's not actually safe to co-sleep. And I think, like you said, just having the knowledge ahead of time so that in case you are really tired, you already have the knowledge. This is how we're going to do safe co-sleeping. And then that way you can ease up a little bit and allow yourself to actually rest if you need it.
What was another one you had?
So,
Number three on our list.
number 3 on the list is this was for older kids, but they said, I'd never allow my kid to talk back to me.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
think this comes into maybe when I like loop this one in how I would respond to my child's behavior.
That's very similar. Yeah. Trying to think. I'm pretty firm with kids, but I'm sure I've definitely know I've allowed things to be like, I'm not going to pick this battle today. Just let whatever comment or whatever thing was said. And then on another day, when I had more energy or something, I might have said, no, that's not acceptable, but definitely have allowed my kid to say things to me that I would never think in a million years I would allow him to say to me.
I think on the flip side, just when we're broadening this, how you'd respond to your child's behavior, also thinking you would be much more compassionate sometimes. Like, I'm going to be able to, when they're having a meltdown, just very consciously handle this. And that might not always be the case. I mean, some days you might be able to, and some days you might not. I, for example, was really surprised at how triggering my baby crying was to me,
Mm,
especially when she was taking longer to be soothed. I was like, wow, I'm getting really anxious about this more so than I expected.
I think it's actually more common than people realize, especially for parents to hear their own baby cry. It's just so different than it is hearing another baby cry. There's a reason why they're the shaking baby syndrome, right? Is because it's common sometimes for babies just to keep crying and parents can't soothe them. And then they just, like you said, the anxiety goes up and maybe triggers come up for certain parents. Even in some of my training, they'll teach people to just put their baby on the center of the bed because, again, they're not rolling at that point. Go into another room, turn on the shower, whatever, and just drown out the noise for a minute, recenter, and then go back and take care of baby. I think that's a good
And
point to bring up.
this taps into a deeper issue, I believe, in general, of not having our support systems in place.
100%. Yes.
But unfortunately, that's where we are as a society in some cases, in some situations. And yes, your mental health is going to be the best for you. But yeah, either way, just how you respond to your child, you might have some expectations around that, whether it's going to be with what you allow your kids to do or how you respond to different behaviors of your baby or your child. And just oftentimes we will find ourselves in situations where we're not really in alignment with what we really thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think this leads into number 4 for me that I had on my list. It ties into this, but I think it's another important one is just in general not losing my shit, not going off. And there were many parents who were like, yeah, I definitely said I wasn't going to be one of those parents that like screamed at my kids or lost my shit. And
Mm-hmm.
again, are we perfect human beings? No, we're not. And our kids come here to test us in some ways. I really
Mm-hmm.
believe that our children are part of our lifelong lessons as souls that we're here to give each other. If it is a belief, and you don't have to believe it, but chances are, if you're a parent who is parenting your child, you will hit moments where you lose your shit because you are a human being. And my biggest takeaway from that is being able to be aware of it after the fact, and then just even to tell your baby or your child the same way you would come to your partner, because our babies and our child, I think, energetically just say, I'm sorry, I acted this way because of XYZ. It had nothing to do with you. Even at the tender young age of like
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks, I think it's important to say these things. And
100%.
it also just builds the practice of how we communicate with our children from the beginning.
Absolutely.
But we all lose our shit. It's okay. And you're with many parents out there who said that they would never do it and yet have
And
done
they
it.
have. Yes. And I'm glad you bring that up because I remember with my partner in the beginning, he's like, I can't believe you've done that. And I felt really shamed as a mom for losing my shit. And then I remember finally when we divorced, coming single and my friend's like, I just lost my shit and yelled at my kids. I was like, oh, so this is normal. Not normal, but it's common and it's okay. And we're human, like you said. And so I think just having that validation early on that it's okay, we're human, we're not perfect, and to work on it, right? I think that's the main thing. And if you really don't want to, then put in the effort to just not let it happen again. And if it does, forgive yourself, apologize to your kiddo, and move on.
Yeah, my whole thing is yes, put in the effort to not let it happen again. But I think what's more important is to just recognize it happened, forgive yourself for letting
Hmm.
it happen. The sooner you can do that, the sooner then things can move forward in a positive way. But forgiving yourself and then just stating to whoever, be that your partner or your baby, I'm sorry. What's the Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian meditation of I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You know,
Yeah, I
meditation.
love that.
Yeah. It can even be as simple as that. You don't even have to attach what it's for. You could say, I'm sorry for blah, blah, blah. Please forgive me for blah, blah, blah. Thank you and I love you. But just even just stating, I am owning this. This happened. I'm not perfect. There is a deeper, bigger piece of this. I love
And
you.
yeah.
Thing.
And I like that you said that to forgive yourself first because you do feel bad. You feel awful. And rightfully, that's good. And that's actually a good sign that you're feeling bad for yelling at your kid. But yeah, forgiveness first is an important one.
It happens. It
Yeah.
happens just like the screen times do. I mean, relate it to that.
Hmm.
Just be like, oh,
Yeah,
just like
that's
the
good.
time I used the screen at the table, just like things happen.
Exactly.
Um, you have another
Hey,
way?
number five, I guess it's similar to not allowing your kids to talk back to you, but saying that their kid would never have a tantrum in public.
That one came up too. I think that ties into the losing the shit things.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And I think we've talked about it before on podcast. Whenever I see a mom like that, I'm just sending them so much love and support. It's okay. I gotcha. And you're doing a great job. And I've even told moms that before. You're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Because those moments, it's hard. No one wants a tantruming kid.
Yeah. There was a couple people who brought that up. The whole my kids will never act out in public or have a
Hmm.
meltdown.
Hmm.
And what are you going to do? We
Right.
can't control our children. So what are we going to do? I think that's just part of the bigger lesson of, oh, these beings are their own beings. And really, who's feeling the most uncomfortable in that situation? It's not the kid, it's
Right.
us.
It's us. Yeah.
And we just need to rewire our brains. Again, this comes down to societal fucked up norms, I think,
Hmm.
and our uncomfortability as adults with big emotions. That's really
Hmm.
a big part of all of this,
Yeah.
even though not losing our shit, how we respond to our kids' behavior and saying, oh, I'm not going to let my kids act this way in public. Why not? Because we're trying to hide it. We're trying to hide. Why are we
Right.
trying to hide these big emotions? Because people in our public general society don't know how to handle it. That's like the
Hmm.
truth of it.
And it's totally normal for a kid, a young kid, to have a tantrum,
I would love,
no matter where it's at.
I'm just thinking I would love the next time my child is a little bit beyond the tantrums in public thing, but
Yeah.
next time that happens and I'm around somebody and people are glaring or whatever, be like, you just can't handle big emotions, can you? This is such a mirror for you.
This is such a mirror for you. I like
Like,
it.
all right, people, this is a test. How comfortable are you with real, raw emotion? Are you comfortable? Do you feel comfortable?
I
Yeah.
think we should start joining together. You know how they do like random dances where they like all get together in
Yeah.
public and then do a dance? Maybe all the moms come together and start tantruming with the kids on cue, tantruming yoga
Yes.
with the
I know
toddler.
what you're talking about. It's not like a pop-up flash dance kind of thing.
Flash dance.
A
Yeah.
flash
Just like a
tantrum.
flash
Flash
tantrum.
tantrum. We could just do it as adults.
Yeah. Let out all those big emotions we've been feeling for whatever long.
Yeah, total side tangent, but I did a rage ritual recently
Oh, fun.
and it was similar and
Yeah.
it was hilarious because we didn't know what the ritual was going to be, this group, and it was all in Zoom, so we were in different places. And certain people were like, I can't do that because I'm in a house with this other person in the other room. And the person was like, so?
So,
So you come out and you say, sorry, I was rage ritualing in there, just getting it out, you know?
yeah.
What are they gonna do? Wouldn't they rather you do it in there than like in front of their faces? But it
Right.
just goes to show how uncomfortable as adults we
Hmm.
are with really fucking
Yeah.
letting it loose.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
I'm definitely. And it's a thing too, tantrum yoga, and I didn't know they have rage rituals, so that's good. It's like on
yeah,
YouTube.
we should rage ritual some together sometimes. I have done it once live in person and it was intense and also amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What are we on, number 6?
Mm-hmm.
Number 6. Okay, I have one more on my list. So for number 6, I have eating sugar.
That was the other one I had too. Yeah.
I will not let my child have sugar for again the first 5 years of their life. Again, I think it comes back to the fact we live in a world where this is around us all the time. And unless we're living under a rock, there's some crazy movie. Do you remember that movie where the guy raises his 6 kids in like the middle of the forest or something?
No.
I will, I don't
Link
know,
it.
I'll look it up and I'll link it.
Okay.
But it also goes to show you when we cut our kids off from things that are in our society, not to say it messes them up, but they're not going to function in society
Yeah.
at any kind of normalcy because they're so just dysregulated from
Hmm.
what's around them. And I think that it goes into sugar, screen time. Yes, we can aim for the best. And I don't know, the reality is our kids are living in this world where we can't control everything as much as we want to. And that often starts really early for many of us, especially if you're needing childcare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or,
that's a good point. Yeah. I
and
did. I have to say I was no sugar, but I did it for a year. And then after the year, I was okay. And I have to say, even that first year, it's challenging. Like you said, when you have caregivers or even going to families or events and stuff like that, especially when they're young. And my whole thing was just that he's young. What's what I'm choosing to give him at that age. And again, no judgment on other families and methods. But yeah, that year was hard. Even his birthday cake, I didn't put any sugar in
yeah,
it.
a year is
I
a
don't
good because they're not really eating too much food in that first year.
exactly.
That I think is a very manageable thing. And
Hmm.
also, hopefully, we're pretty attached to our children in the first
Yeah.
year. Most of what they're going to be getting, they don't even get, you're not supposed to give a child cow's milk until 1 year old, right?
Mm.
I think that's the regulation. I'll double check on that. I think you're supposed to do formula. Not to say that
Mm.
formula
Oh, I
doesn't
see what you're
have some
saying.
sugar in it,
Yeah.
but you're not supposed to do cow's milk until 1 year. I'm pretty sure
Until one.
that's the
Okay.
regulation.
Hmm. Thought it was
Either
six.
way, I think 1 year is very doable. And I also think once we get into other people taking care of our kids, I do know some people who didn't have other people take care of their kids for that reason. They didn't want them to be influenced by different behaviors or ways of speaking.
Mm.
And that's one, a privilege, I believe, and that's
Mhm.
fine. And two, a choice that not many people I know personally would make because it's very hard to be 100% on and be the only one for so long. And oftentimes, if you're doing that, you're choosing basically to be a stay-at-home full-time parent. And that's okay choice to be, but I think it takes a certain kind of heart and passion to be in it full time. And if that's not you, know that that's okay because uh,
Yeah.
I think both need to be celebrated in our society. Stay-at-home moms don't get enough credit for everything that they do and the path that they choose. It's just as valuable. It's like we're fucked either way. The people who don't want to be
Right.
stay-at-home moms are also shamed for not spending enough time with their
Right.
children. So
Mm.
you're gonna get fucked either way. Just choose whatever works best for you. And yeah, the sugar thing, I remember I have a caretaker who was so great. She's amazing. We loved her from the beginning. She started helping us with my daughter from I think a month, maybe 2 months old, occasionally 3 hours here, 3 hours there. And it was after she was one, I think maybe even more toward 1.5 or 2. But I remember just seeing she had given her something that was like some sweetbreads or Latin
Mhm.
American related. And I wasn't into it. And just having this moment of realization of I can't control everything my child's going to be exposed to. And the best I can do again is be the model for what I
Mhm.
want to see and also just try to create balance. In this home, we'll have the healthier things pretty much all the time or not have the sugar. And
Mhm.
in the end, I think it's worked out fine. She's very aware of balancing the treats with the good foods.
And we did a podcast on that too.
We'll link that, the whole
Yeah,
balancing the food thing, because yeah, you
both
can.
our kids are really good, and I have treats in the house and candy.
And
My
we
son has
never
access to
fully
it, and he
restricted
never.
anything,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
you and I, we go into that. We never fully
yeah,
restricted anything for our children. It's just a matter of introducing balance
mhm,
from the beginning.
yeah, and it's great. It's so nice.
Do you have anything else? So we had 6 things. Those
Hmm.
are the big things that came
Hmm.
up when I talked to
Yeah,
people.
that was mine too. It's funny how even though people had different ways of going about it. They're all similar theme of things that they said they would never do as a parent.
Yeah. And
Hope
it's
you.
interesting too, because I think some of these, whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of this shit is tied into statistics that are thrown out there. We hear, don't let your child watch screens before X age. Don't let your child have sugar before X age. And not to say that they are wrong or bad. Statistics are there for reasons, and I think there is some element of truth into them. And how much does that weigh into our feeling guilty or in our mind being 100% like set in stone that this is what we're going to do? We're going to follow this regulation.
Right.
Versus just saying, hey, that's cool. It's something I can work toward, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, give yourself some grace
Yeah.
in the process. And then also, I think it's nice to have the statistics, have something to aim for, and then also know that it's okay if you don't meet those standards and that there's other parents out there that reach for the same things. And then if it doesn't happen, that's okay too.
What is the
Yeah.
statistic about parents that don't really reach the statistic?
Yeah, there you go. I think there is one more going back in my mind is that people, specifically mothers, saying that they would not want to stay home with their kids. And then after their baby's born, they end up, yeah, I really do want to stay home. And some of them even wanting to stay home, but not necessarily having the ability to do so. But I think that's also a common one that I've heard. I never thought I'd want to be a stay-at-home mom. And then after their baby's born, they're just, I want to be home. And I don't know if you've heard that one before too.
It didn't come up when I was directly asking people this go around with this question, but I've heard people say that in the past, people I know. And
Yeah.
I think that's a good one to bring up as well, because I think it's just as important. And it's a big one. And people struggle with that sometimes, especially if they've had this career before. Or it's a huge change in direction for your life. But having a baby is a huge change in direction, no matter if that's number one, number two, number three. I think that's a good
Yeah.
one.
And I think too, and I think you've brought this up before actually, and I'm recalling, is the idea around not losing friends or not allowing friendships to become in the way or for your lifestyle to change after you have a child. And I think that it's natural to think that initially, and then also to be willing and wanting to change that as well as things come up and grow and evolve. But I remember you speaking on that in one of the
Yeah, we had the
episodes.
whole epic episode of the evolution that you go through after
Yes.
becoming a mother or after
Yeah.
each child. So we'll link to that one as well. We have a lot of good episodes that kind of tie into some of these topics, but that one for sure was a good one.
Yeah.
that we
And that I
can-
think links into like things you never do as a parent, right?
Yeah, as
Amazing.
far as that number, I guess it's number 7, the final one here, realizing things such as I just want to be a stay-at-home mom after you've had a kid is a big one of that evolution of who you are as a person after you have a kid, and like realizing maybe I'm not the same person I was, and that's okay. That's like the big theme
Yeah.
of that episode.
Yes, because you aren't physiologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all.
And it's for the better. I really believe that each of our children is a real big part of our life journey, and that there's a lot that weaves into that.
Awesome. Fun. So ask your
Well,
friends.
if there's any big ones we missed, first of all, if you are the parent that never had screen time with your children for the first 4 years, reach out to us. I know there's somebody out there listening eventually. Jen's very interested in talking to you. And then if there's any other ones that you have, we are all ears, and they're very interesting and fun. And we can do a whole nother one, like a part 2 on this, and or sometimes just hearing them stems like a whole new topic for us for podcast episodes. So if you have something else that you swore you would never do as a parent and then ended up doing, please let us know if we didn't touch on it here. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time. Hey there, amazing listeners. We just want to say a huge thank you for tuning into our convo on the Just This podcast today. We appreciate each and every one of our listeners, and your continued support means the world to us.
If you enjoyed this episode and found value in it, we would be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, or share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it too. Your reviews and shares not only motivate us, but they also help others discover our show.
We're also all about keeping the conversation going and hanging out with our incredible community. Head over to justthis.site, that's JUSTTHIS.SITE, where you'll find additional resources, ways to connect with us, and join the conversation, plus some more goodies.
Thank you again for being a part of the Just This community. We'll be back soon. Until next time, remember to take care of yourself and embrace the wonder as you navigate this extraordinary adventure.